going to rob your own grandmother.
Waiter. I fully appreciate your love of simplicity of language, Cassidy. But frankly speaking, I don't quite see it on those terms.
She's your granny, isn't she? And you intend to deprive the poor old soul of something that's rightfully hers.
Poor old soul? She's a bat out of hell. A harridan of the first water.
Well, you can do with her what you like, but don't expect me to be any part of it.
Oh, I see. I take it you're not interested then in a half share.
I never said that.
We're going to relieve my grandmother of a vintage motor car which used to belong to my late grandfather.
Surely she'll notice if her car goes missing.
We're going to leave a look-alike in its place.
You've been pulling my leg, haven't you? It isn't a real antique motor car we're talking about. It's a toy car belonging to your granny, isn't it?
It's worth £15,000, Harry.
£15,000 for a toy?
Did you have many toys when you were a short-trousered lad?
I never even had short trousers, Guy. Except as a hard-tackling centre-back.
My parents were always on the move. Always owing money, Harry. There was never the time or the wherewithal for me to acquire childhood playthings.
I knew a boy once who had this great toy airplane. When you run it along the ground, the propellers whizzed round. I managed to persuade him to swap it for an invisible goldfish, but his mother made me give it back.
Did you say invisible goldfish?
Oh, yeah, the jam jar of water in his tray and everything. I told him there was an invisible goldfish swimming around in it.
And he believed you?
It's not the scam, Buchanan. It's the way you sell it.
It'll be like going back to my childhood. Spending a weekend with grandmother. My, that does look good.
I told your man we wanted the works.
You can say what you like about British Rail, Cassidy, but they do you proud for English breakfast. That's almost up to the exacting standards of the Savoy.
Oh, better. You'd be sitting in the Savoy for an awful long time before it got you to Harrogate. Does your grandma live alone?
No, she's had a resident nurse for a couple of years, but she's proving a mite pricey. So we're going to incarcerate the old bat in a nursing home, in the absence of a vacant belfry. We've got to lay our hands on the old boy's clockwork vehicle before her goods and chattels come up for auction.
Sorry about the delay, gentlemen. Saute potatoes.
Yes, please. You're a fine man, thanks. Tell me more about this £15,000 toy.
It's a Bing tin plate, German, 1914, open four-seater army staff car.
How come it's lasted so long in mint condition?
Grandad looked after his toys when he was a lad. According to family tradition, he rarely even took them out of their wrappers. This one was his particular pride and joy.
You mean he kept that under wraps all the time that you were in the house?
Worse than that. I had this cousin Edgar. A diabolical, double-crossing mummy's boy, if ever there was one.
Why won't you help, Edgar? Because I don't want to. Come on, Edgar. If you got stuck in, we can alter the course of this stream in no time. It's a flow right through that farmer's field. That's the whole idea, you half-baked twerp. He'll give us £half a to re-divert it. He'll give me £half a right now if I tell him what you're doing.
It was arranged by our parents that Edgar and I should spend those weekends together for companionship. Actually, we loathed and despised each other. Edgar was a chip off the family block, grandfather in miniature, gloating over the damn thing instead of breaking it like any worthwhile, honest-to-goodness normal lad, while I was made to sit on the sofa with my hands beneath my legs.
Did you ever get your own back on Edgar? Buchanan? Did you ever get revenge on Edgar? What happened to him?
Oh, he grew up to be an accountant, naturally. Last I heard of him, he'd gone off to the Antipodes.
Good riddance to him.
Tell you, Harry, there were times when I'd sat on that damnable sofa. And all I wanted to do with that Bing tin-plate German 1914 open four-seater army staff car was to pick it up and chuck it into the very deepest part of the river.
Lucky with hindsight that you didn't.
The only glimmer of light in an otherwise dark horizon is the fact that her two obnoxious cats will have long since turned their paws up.
Get out of it.
Basil!
Good afternoon.
Hello?
You must be Guy Buchanan.
Yes, I am.
I'm Patricia Lenihan, your grandmother's nurse.
Oh, really?
I was down in the garden. Thought I'd bring a bit of colour into the house before you arrived. But sure, you're early.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. May I?
I know, I'll take them around the kitchen, put them in some water. Go on in, why don't you?
If that's my grandson, tell him to wipe his boots.
Yes, it's me, Grandma. I've arrived.
Boots! Boots!
Dead? Did you say dead?
Yes, Gran. Father died several years ago.
Don't do that. When I want my cushions arranging, I'll tell you to arrange them. Well, it won't be missed. Not by me. I warned her long before she married him. He's a fool. Oh, yes. But so was she for marrying him.
Really, Gran, there's no point in looking back now and criticizing either of my parents.
Shut up. And don't interrupt me when I'm talking. And have the goodness to listen when I tell you something. Don't hover. I won't be hovered over.
I'm only trying to help.
Oh, you've no more sense than either of them. Guy. Guy, indeed. What possessed you to change your name to Guy? I can fully appreciate you wishing to lose the awful name that man saddled your mother with. But Christian names, one doesn't change. Christian names are sacrosanct. We don't know any Guys.
Well, I thought a change of name might mean a change of fortune, Grandma.
Fiddle faddle. God named you, Leslie, inside his house. So don't expect to hear Guy from my lips.
Why don't I make us all a nice pot of tea?
Tea, tea, tea. She's always making tea. I wonder about her bladder.
I'm sure your grandson could do with a cup.
Guy. Guy Fawkes. Now, that's the guy for you. Your grandfather was a Leslie. I told her to call you Leslie. Where is she now?
Mother's dead, Grandma.
Dead? Did you say dead?
A year exactly to the month after Father died.
Oh, I remember. I went to the funeral. I didn't go to his, but I went to hers. I brought her into the world. I told her not to marry him, but she was willful. She was disobedient. You've grown like her.
Did I, Grandma?
You brought filth and grime into this house. Grime and filth. You once walked dog dirt through that front door on your shoes. You destroyed a banister rail. We had to pay to have it renewed. And you walked that dog dirt all up that stair carpet onto the landing.
I didn't do it intentionally, Grandma.
Shut up. Why have you come here? What do you want? There's been neither sight nor sound of you for donkey's years. Then suddenly a letter, right out of the blue.
Well, I was taking a trip up north on business, so I thought I'd come in and see you before I...
Before I die, too. Before they bury me under the sod.
Well, I was going to say before I went back south.
Shut up when I'm talking. The cats get everything.
I beg your pardon?
When I do go to join my Leslie, and I'm not ready for that great adventure yet a while, but when the call does come, everything I've got goes to the cats.
Well, it's your money, Gran. You must dispose of it as you think best.
Oh, you were willful. You were disobedient. Clumsy. Oh, such an unlikable lad. You broke the head off one of Leslie's lead hussars.
Quite unintentionally, Grandma.
He'd had those soldiers since he was a boy. He loved those soldiers.
These things happen, Grandma. It's the nature of the juvenile beast. All boys break things occasionally.
Not all boys. Some boys are brought up with a sense of values. Edgar didn't break things. Edgar was a good boy. Where's Edgar gone to?
Edgar's in Australia.
Your mother was the same. She didn't want you, Leslie.
Didn't she?
She wanted you, Neil. Neil! Neil, I said. Kneel down, I told her. But you couldn't tell her anything. Edgar was still Edgar. Who was it, do you say again, that went off to Australia? Now then, was it her or was it Edgar? You see, she was up and off anywhere. I had to watch her like a hawk when she was little. I've locked her in a cupboard more than once, because she wouldn't be told. Do you see? Australia. Well, there's nothing in Australia. What is there in Australia for anybody? There's that jolly swagman and the sheep. Come away from there.
I wasn't doing anything, Grandma. I had my hands behind my back. Look, I was just remembering old times.
You can't touch anything, not in there, because it's kept locked shut.
Gran, these, seaside pot things, I seem to remember that they were kept on the mantelpiece in the kitchen in the old days.
Oh, of course, we'd gone to Mablethorpe. We went to Mablethorpe every year. There was a little Scotty that used to do its whittles on the pier. It's all sheep in Australia. I mean, why would she want to go there? I said to Leslie, hey, Leslie, just take a look at that little Scotty dog. It's doing its whittles all down that gentleman's deck chair leg. Oh, we did laugh. Come away from there. I know what you've got your heart set on, young man. I know what you're after. Well, you can take your greedy eyes off that. It doesn't belong to you.
Oh, it is mine, Grandmother. It does belong to me. I earned it over many a long weekend. It's mine, and I intend to take it.
It can't be done.
Have you got £5 that says that?
And you're not allowed to touch the glass, you say?
You're not allowed to touch the sherry glass with your hand, no. You can touch the brandy glass with one hand. The other hand has to be behind your back.
You've got to drink the sherry out of the sherry glass.
There's a catch in it.
No, there isn't.
There's a catch in it, there must be.
And you can't handle the sherry glass at all.
Them's the rules. Who'll put their money where their mouth is?
Fiver, right?
Good men.
There we are.
Fiver. 2 5.
Come on, Ashley, it's only a bit of fun. Some of us have to work for our money, you know.
Oh, I like a man that likes a little flutter, Ashley. Good man. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll. Ta-da! Thank you, gentlemen.
You know what they say, Ashley? A fool and his money. Yes, sir.
Oh, a large scotch, please. No ice and just a splash of water. Thank you.
And how's your glass, Dominic? Are you ready for a refill?
Twist my arm, Rita.
Dominic.
Dominic Dangerfield. I thought I'd get the feel of the alias before trying it out on Granny. Is it all systems go tomorrow?
Why shouldn't it be?
Well, when I saw you standing there, I thought there was something wrong. Are you sure it's wise to come here? You said you were going to phone.
I did. You weren't here. I asked for Mr. Cassidy. Next time you feel an alias coming on, you might let me know.
Sorry, my mistake.
Well, you're certainly not letting the grass go under your feet.
Well, there's no sense in dallying in the shallow end when you're only here for a few days. What's the lifestyle like at Granny's?
Deadly dull.
What about this stiff, starch, frumpish nurse?
Extremely frumpish.
That's £1.70.
Thank you.
That one's on me, Dominic, lovey. I've given you a large one.
Oh, no, Rita.
Come on, get it down, you. I'll have a drink with you. Drink for drink, eh? You'll have plenty of time tonight. It's only early yet.
Have you heard the one about the fellow that's filling his feet?
Cheers, Dominic, lovey.
Cheers, Rita.
Oh, you wouldn't happen to have a quarter bottle of brandy, would you, please?
We might have.
Things that bad, are they?
Purely medicinal purposes, Dominic. Lovely.
Only got a half, will that do you?
Oh, yes, thank you.
She's asleep at last. Thank God. She can really be a bit of a handful when she wants to.
When's she going to the nursing home?
As soon as they've got a place. I think it's for the best. Well, now, who's a dab hand in the kitchen?
Oh, I pride myself in being able to prepare a simple meal for two, avec le planck. Is there anything wrong?
You are Mr. Guy Buchanan.
Me?
I think that as well as being a bit of an old smoozy who's maybe after having designs on me, you might also be more than a bit of a rogue.
Who, me?
Oh, come on. I may seem like a simple soul marooned out here in the countryside, but I've enough experience of the outside world to recognize the big bad wolf when he comes calling at Grandmother's cottage.
Oh, was it my great big teeth or my great big eyes that gave me away, Miss Red Riding Hood?
Look, she may be a bit of a martinet, your grandmother, and God knows I've had more experience than most of the wrong side of her tongue, but I do happen to like the old lady.
What's all this got to do with us having supper together?
Well, I wouldn't want to sit down at table with the fella who was out to gyp his granny.
My dear Miss Lenehan, rest assured that I did not come down here for the weekend harboring any thoughts of shoving my granny up the chimney. No, I've got a soft spot for the old girl myself. When I leave this house, she will not feel herself to be any worse off, poor old thing, than she is at the moment.
Is that a promise?
Promise, sit down. As far as having designs on you, of course, I give you my solemn warning that I intend to plough that particular furrow to the farthest corner of the field.
Is that a promise, too?
Oh, yes, of course.
Right. Don't let's waste any more time. Your grand's an awfully early riser. And I shall need to be back in my own bed before she starts banging on the ceiling with her broomstick. I'd like to make the most of it. There hasn't been a man inside this house for years. Cheers. Hey, Sleeping Beauty. Wakey, wakey. Rise and shine.
What time is it?
It's nearly 5:30.
5:30 what?
5, dopey.
What happened last night?
You fell asleep.
I couldn't possibly feel this bad and not have had a good time.
Is that essential?
Find me skirt. And you, I've got to come downstairs and lock the front door behind me. And while you're down there, you can go out in that car park and find that lampshade.
Huh?
You kidding on, it was a football. Scored that cracking goal. You nutted it through that window just before you passed out. Come on, get a move on. Gotta get home before Cliffy turns up.
Cliffy?
My husband. I told you. He's on the juggernauts. And he's due back from Belgium any minute. And I wouldn't put it past the suspicious sod to come round here.
Oh, Mother of God.
He wants to put a cleaning fluid sales fella in hospital. Broke his jaw. You have to see the funny side of things. Sales fella. He wired his teeth together. Hey, droopy draws. Have you got it? I'll love you and leave you then. I'll see you when I see you.
So long, Lizzie.
Night, night, kiddo. God bless.
God bless.
Did you make your bed this morning? Do you hear me?
Beg your pardon, Grandma?
Did you make your bed?
Yes, Grandma.
Has he made his bed?
If he says he has, I suppose it's so.
Him? You pay no attention to what he says. What he says and what he means are diametrically opposed. He'll say anything. There were chalk and cheese, Edgar and him. Chalk and cheese. Edgar's room was a guardsman's billet, and his room was a midding tip. Made you wonder what he'd been up to in that bed.
Oh, hello. Someone at the door. Shall I get it?
I'll go.
We seem to have a visitor, Grandma.
Oh, you were a wicked, ill-mannered, undisciplined boy. I blame your parents.
Yes, grandmother. Enter Dominic Dangerfield, stage left, like an avenging angel.
What'd you say? What was that?
Nothing, grandmother.
It's Mr. McCavity to see Mrs. Maybury.
Mr. Who?
McCavity. Marcus McCavity.
I'm sorry, Miss Lenehan, but I don't think that we, have this gentleman's acquaintance.
Oh, is he? And what does he want?
Well, he seems to be some sort of door-to-door tradesman, grandmother. I don't think he need detain us for very long. You're in the antique trade, are you?
What does he want? What does he want?
He's an antique dealer, Mrs. Maybury.
Well, at least for the moment, let's say that's what he claims to be.
If you'll allow me 2 minutes to explain.
I think
sure...
I can explain all that is necessary in less than half that time, Mr.
McCavity.
Yes, quite. Grandmother, I think you'll find that my coming here for the weekend will prove fortuitous. What we're being presented with here is a well-known small-time trickster scam. I won't ask you to show yourself out, Mr. McAdamy.
McCavity.
Suit yourself. It's probably not your real name anyway. I'll show you to the door myself.
Wait a second, sir. You've had your say. Haven't I at least entitled to mine?
Frankly, no.
Well, you've been quick enough to condemn the poor man. I do think he's entitled to his right to reply.
If you care to look at the card you are holding, sir, you will see that we are registered members of the Antique Dealers Association. Working in tandem with the Retirement Home Association, we have discovered that this good lady, Mrs. Maybury, isn't it?
It is. And as it's my property that you're arguing over, don't you think it would be nice if you properly address your remarks to me?
I would be delighted to, Ma'am, given half a chance.
You take much too much on yourself, Leslie. Carry on, young man.
As I was saying, Ma'am, we have been reliably informed that you might be moving home and therefore might have 1 or 2 items you wish to sell. Should that be the case, our experts would be more than delighted to offer you a fair, competitive, and comprehensive price list, and also insist that you take some time to consider those offers in order that you might take them to as many dealers as you wish to see if they are willing to better them.
Well, I must say that's more than reasonable.
I think I may owe you an apology, Mr.
McCavity. Marcus McCavity. Think nothing of it, sir. I quite understand your anxieties.
Would you like a cup of tea, young man?
That's extremely kind of you, Ma'am.
Well, don't just stand there. Go and fetch tea. Better tea.
Might I suggest, Mrs. Maybury, that while we are waiting, I take a quick peep around to see if there are 1 or 2 items in which we might be interested. Always assuming, of course, of your willingness to part with them, that is. Might I also suggest, for your own sake as well as mine, that your manservant accompany me? Ah, that's a rather interesting long case clock. Oakwood. 30-hour movement, circa 1710, I believe.
Who's Marcus McCavity?
I am. Leslie.
What happened to Dominic Dangerfield?
Dangerfield, that's the name. I had a bit of a hard night last night. I woke up this morning and I couldn't remember who I was.
Oh, that's a fine collection of Gothware you have there.
What do you mean you had a bad night of it? The English rose of the barmaid, no doubt. Or should you keep your mind on the business, Lovey?
And what about yourself? Starch, stiff, frump of a nut. How are you? You kept that one very much under wraps.
Mrs. Maybury, could I possibly have the key to the cabinet?
Come here. Come on.
I hope you won't object to my taking pictures of these items. None of them is worth a fortune, but 1 or 2 of them might fetch you upwards of £100 apiece. Oh, look what you've got here. One of those old tin plate clockwork toy things. That goes back a year or 2.
Don't let my grandson touch it. Keep it away from him.
It used to belong to my granddad. He had it ever since he was a boy.
Look, put it back. It's not for sale at any price.
Sentimental value, eh, Mrs. Maybury? Well, not to worry. I won't put it on my list. You only fetch a £1 or 2 for those tin plate jobs these days. I'll put it back safely when I'm finished.
I don't touch tin, Mr. Buchanan. I don't do no base metals. You know me better than that.
I know you're a craftsman, Boris. And I know you're the best.
Oh, so what is news? That's history. I know that I'm the best, with silver. You want I should fashion you a hallmark silver inkstand, which once graced the desk of George IV himself? It'll be ready by the middle of next month. A tin!
Boris, do you know where that is?
Who wouldn't? It's a Bing, German, 1914, open four-seater army staff car. It looks in mint condition to me.
Yes, it is.
We're talking what? 14 grand?
We're talking 15, Boris, and you're in for 12.5%.
20.
Look, that's not possible, Boris. I've got very heavy overheads.
No, I wouldn't like you to feel that you were disappointed, Mr. Buchanan. Making it would be no problem. It's the paint job.
Well, surely you know somebody.
Well, there's a one-legged geezer in Islington. He knocks out genuine 18th century seaman's chest. Fine for the Yankee tourist trade. But they wouldn't go inside the doors of Sotheby's.
Look, how about inside the display cabinet of a 90-odd-year-old biddy who wouldn't give it more than a cursory glance?
No. I'd like to do business with you, Mr. Buchanan. I wish I could do business with you, but it's tin.
All right. Now, I'm going to make a loss on this. 15%. And that's my final offer, Boris. You think about it.
You're on.
Boris, are you working on a commission for the Metropolitan Police?
Oh, shit.
Are you looking for anything in particular, or just having an old rummage around?
I just wondered where you kept your Earl Grey tea.
I don't. And you can read that in the comfort of your own apartment. The holiday is over. You're not on any wanted list.
You sure?
Absolutely certain. It was Boris they were looking for. Some scam of his to do with the FA Cup. So you can take off the dressing gown, leave it back on the floor where you found it, and skedaddle off home.
Well, couldn't you percolate me a cup of coffee before I go? The FA Cup. I thought that was ridiculous. How do you think they were going to get inside the present holder's trophy room? I bet they've got a better alarm system than the Tower of London.
You know that great Jules Dassin movie, Rififi, 1955, black and white, deals with that very same subject?
Yes, all right, all right. But who do you think would want to buy the FA Cup?
Scunthorpe United.
This is instant.
Well, one thing's for certain. We're going to have to put the tin plate toy scam on the back burner for a while. I mean, with Boris in the nick, who's going to make it?
You know, the last time that Boris went inside, they employed him in the prison metal workshop.
No.
Good heavens.
Hmm?
Well, since I've been in hiding, Cassidy, events have overtaken us.
What?
The old lady's popped her clogs. Maybury. On October the 17th, suddenly at home, Martha Henrietta Maybury, aged 92. 17. That's 4 days ago. Better get our skates on.
It's me again, Patricia Lenihan. As I haven't heard from you since I rang with the sad news about your grandmother, I'm calling now to tell you that the funeral's on the 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at the Fernell Crematorium.
That's this afternoon.
So if you happen to get back before then...
How quickly can you get to the station?
What's the lap record speed at Silverstone?
Well, come on, then. It's the best you can do.
Relax. We'll get there on time. It's not my fault we've run into a bit of traffic. Anyway, I don't know what you're dashing up there for. You don't even have the replica to swap for the original.
I don't need the replica now she's dead. As far as anybody else is concerned, it's just a clockwork toy. I'll take it saying it's a souvenir to remind me of Grandma, providing I can get there before the valuers move in.
You mean you're just going to nick it? What happened to our scam?
Look, I need to get there in time for the funeral. I have to have a reason for being there in the first place.
Will depart from platform 3, calling at Peterborough, York, Newcastle, Berwick, and Edinburgh.
Lord, you know the secrets of our hearts. In your mercy hereafter, forgive us our sins, and at our last hour let us not fall away from you. And trust in our sister, God's will. We now commit her body to be cremated in the sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died, was buried, and rose again for us. To him be glory forever and ever. God will show us the path of life. In his presence is the fullness of joy, and at his right hand there is pleasure forevermore. Unto him that is able to keep us from falling, and to present us faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise God, our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
All donations gratefully accepted for the Dalesdyke Home for Abandoned Cats, in accordance with the wishes of the deceased. Thank you very much indeed, madam. Thank you very much indeed, sir.
Thank you very much. Hello, Edgar.
Hello, Les. Though I gather you call yourself Guy these days. I recognized you the moment you walked into the chapel. Trust you to turn up late.
Trust you not to miss a funeral. All the way from Australia. Must have been circling around like a vulture, waiting for the old girl to give up her last gasp.
It doesn't go entirely unnoticed that you failed to send a floral tribute.
Now, there wasn't time. Still, it's the thought that counts, isn't it? How much thought went into that monstrosity? It is yours, isn't it? I'd imagined it came from anybody else. God takes those first he loves the best. In our hearts for always, Edgar and Patricia.
My deepest condolences in the death of your grandmother.
Yes, I understand introductions are unnecessary. You had the pleasure of making my fiancé's acquaintance last week, Leslie.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon, Miss Lenihan.
Hello again, Mr. Buchanan.
Well, I gather congratulations are in order. I didn't know that...
No, well, it was at my insistence that our engagement be kept entre nous. While Grandmother was alive, we couldn't be entirely assured of her approval, but now that she's safely in the bosom of her maker, I fear it's time that we were making tracks, dear.
Have you got a car, Mr. Buchanan?
No. I came by taxi from the station.
Edgar, could we not give Guy a... You don't mind if I call you Guy, do you?
Not at all, Patricia. And after all, we're going to be related.
Could we not give Guy a lift?
I suppose so. If we must. And if he's no objection to stopping off en route at the cottage.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Edgar, old chum. As a matter of fact, I'd rather like the opportunity to take a last look around the place where you and I spent so many hours of our childhood.
Oh, come on, Edgar.
Let's bury the hatchet. What's the point in keeping up these boyhood animosities? We're probably never even going to see each other again. Business going well, is it? In the Antipodes?
Well, the first few years were a trifle sticky. Which is why, at that time, I didn't deem it wise for Patricia to come out and join me.
I hope you don't think I'm being nosy, Edgar, but just how long did it take you and your attractive fiancée to get your act together?
We corresponded regularly for several years. I proposed by post.
If you were keeping your engagement secret from Grandma so she didn't cut you out of her will, I've a disappointment for you. She's left everything to the cat's home.
Don't you imagine I'm as well informed as you are where Grandmother's money is going? Not a penny of it's coming your way, that is a fact.
No, we never really hit it off. But you know, I'm going to miss her. In a funny sort of way.
Miss her? You hardly ever saw her.
No. And I don't doubt that's a fact I'm going to regret as the years go by. I don't suppose, Edgar. Look, I don't suppose... No, it's too much to ask.
What?
Well, I was wondering, I know there's been a lot between us, but leaving that aside, cousin to cousin, bygones being bygones.
Yes?
Well, I was wondering if, before the valuers come in, whether you could do me a great big favor and turn a blind eye whilst I filched some small memento. You know, to remember the old folks by.
Oh. Very well, provided you're quick about it.
Edgar, that's awfully kind of you.
Only get a move on. The rate they're charging me for that motor's going to bankrupt me.
Yes, right. Now, what shall it be?
I'm packed, Edgar. Would you bring my big suitcase down?
As soon as my cousin makes up his mind.
What about?
Well, Cousin Edgar has very kindly said that I could take away a souvenir. The question is what?
Why don't you choose something out of the cabinet, Les? There's plenty in there for you to feast your eyes upon.
Good heavens. I'd forgotten all about Granny's treasure trove. Ah. Now then, these seasidey pot things, these were a pride and joy. Ah. Snack number one, it's locked.
Catch. You know, if you really want something to remind you of your childhood, what about Grandad's clockwork motor up on the top shelf?
Good heavens. That's still there. After all these years. Well, well. Who'd have thought it? Grandad's motor car. Now, this really does take me back. Can I really have it, Edgar? Well, that's made my day. I can't tell you how much this means to me.
I know how much you think it means to you. Somewhere in the region of 15,000 green ones.
I beg your pardon?
You heard me. Around 15,000 quid.
Sorry, Edgar, I'm not on your wavelength. This isn't something you can measure in pounds and pence.
It would be, though, if it was what you think it is. You're under the impression that what you're holding in your hands is a Bing tin plate German 1914 open four-seater army staff car, right? Wrong. Take a close look at it. Look underneath.
This isn't it. This isn't Grandad's motor car at all.
No.
No. It's a fake. It's a dud.
It's a jolly good one, though, isn't it? Cost me close on 250 quid.
250 quid? Mine was going to set me back £2,000.
Ah, but then you always were a genuine 18-carat idiot where money was concerned. You need to learn to shop around. I had that put together by a little chap in Wolverhampton. Mind you, it was 3 years ago. Probably cost double that today.
3 years ago?
I was a bit strapped for the readies when I was getting Maybury accountancy services off the ground. And then I remembered Grandad's tin plate toy alone and palely loitering in Grand's cabinet.
You lousy rotten.
I sussed out your little game the moment you walked into this room. You came here 3 years too late with your handcart job.